Today we're going to talk about balance sheet hedging results analytics. And this is a challenge for FX risk managers. You get a scorecard every month. And the challenge is that you have remeasurement impacts of one number. You have your balance sheet hedging gains or losses of a different number, hopefully in the opposite direction. But the two never match, and there's often the fear that there's going to be a big delta between the two, and you won't be able to explain it. So we're going to talk about how Atlas FX helps in that whole reconciliation process and understanding your data and your results really early in the close. In this example, we have balance sheet hedging gains of a little under 7 million, and we have remeasurement losses of almost 9.5 million. So the delta between the two is a loss of about 2.5 million. And we can explain the sources of variance for this 2.5 million. So on the right side here, you can see that we've broken this out and we can explain the sources of variance for this 2.5 million. And the first source of variance is going to be forward points, and that's fairly easy to understand, and folks may have that split apart already. That's going to be part of the trading or the hedges, but not part of the remeasurement. So in this example, I've got a forward point expense. You might be lucky enough to have a forward point benefit overall, but I've summarized by currency pair in this example, and we have forward point costs in Brazil, forward point costs in Russia, where there's some long positions. I have a short position in China where I'm earning some forward points, somewhat offsetting. You can see the net impact of all my currencies together is about a $1.3 million loss from forward points. Then the next thing we break out is forecast deviation. And those gains and losses, we try to minimize that by improving the forecasts with our clients with a lot of success, but there's always going to be some forecast deviation. We will do the calculation of the final forecast compared to the actual and take that amount and multiply it by the appropriate rate difference. Depends on your accounting rate methodology, but we can follow any methodology and look at the impact of that forecast deviation in terms of a gain or loss. Could go either way. The next category we'll look at is spot rate impact, and this is just the spot or outright forward rate for any balance sheet hedges that you're doing. Hopefully at the end of the month, your initial balance sheet hedge is going to be at or very close to the accounting rate it's looking to protect. Some folks are surprised about how much slippage there can be during that period. If you're not hedging right at the exact moment that your accounting rate snapshot is taken, there's going to be some slippage, and you may think it's going to be small. Could be bigger some months than you anticipate. But if there's any true-up hedges later on, maybe you see your balance sheet actuals and workday 5, 6, 7 of the next month, you're going to true up those hedges with an outright forward. The spot rate of that will have an impact. If you do any liquidity trading throughout the month that you don't use FX swaps for, if you're doing spot trades, that's going to have an impact. So we'll track all of those trades and look at the spot component of those and see what that impact is, again, on your balance sheet hedging results. Could be a gain, could be a loss. And then the final category that we look at, and this is a really tough one for folks to try to do on their own. Categories here is booking errors, but really it's an integrity check of the remeasurement process itself. So with Atlas FX, we have all the transactional currency detail. We know the functional currency of every entity, and we can look at all those flows throughout the month and do a calculation of the theoretical remeasurement for every entity account currency combination and compare that to what's actually being booked in the remeasurement account. Now, the remeasurement process itself is probably happening correctly, but it's going to show some deltas here and there, mostly from manual bookings. So if it's the case that folks are making manual entries into the remeasurement account, but not giving Treasury a heads up of what they're doing, then Treasury's often left scratching their head about, what are these entries, where are they coming from? If you think that you have a certain balance in a certain currency and can calculate a remeasurement impact, but the actual remeasurement result is not close to that number, that's where we can help dig into those details. So in this example, I have a single entry in euro that's about a $1.25 million loss. I have other reports that we can drill down and find the entity, the account, all of the details needed to get a better understanding of where that discrepancy lies. So in practice, you'd probably set an absolute value threshold of investigation for those types of numbers, and then quickly during the close, instead of just wondering if this number makes any sense, you can quickly see either at the trial balance level, where this is coming from and get in touch with the controller for that entity and talk about what happened in the booking, or we can actually get down to the transaction level and already have that information available drilled down. It's very computational, but we have that ability to drill down all the way to whatever level you want to see in terms of that exception. So with all those, very early in the close, you get your complete picture of your sources of variance between your hedging, you understand your hedging results, and especially at quarter end, you don't have the fear of booking something incorrectly and having to reverse it the next quarter. So with that, you get a lot more confidence, and that fear of not understanding your results at month end was really taken care of with Atlas FX.